What's the connection between you two?
One of my best friends from Atlanta is her cousin.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, because we were just talking and he was just like, yeah, you may not know this guy named Kenny Cox.
And she's like, actually,
That's my cousin.
It's a small world.
Yeah, that's insane.
Oh, that could have been bad. Survivor casting is usually pretty great. They comb through thousands of applicants every season and find out not only who will be the most entertaining character in a vacuum, but also figure out which combination of characters will work together to make the most entertaining season possible. It's a really tough job, and I don't envy them for it. Survivor casting makes or breaks a season. It doesn't matter how good the theme is, how good the location is, whether or not you've got the best twists. The cast ultimately decides if we have Survivor Pearl Islands or Survivor One World. But sometimes casting makes mistakes. I'm not talking mistakes like Jackson Fox. I'm not talking mistakes like Hannah Rose. I'm not even talking mistakes like Brandon Hance. I'm talking about castaways that knew each other before they even got out on the island. And don't worry, I will get to the absolute most egregious case of this happening in Survivor history. One that absolutely changed the course of the entire season. That's right, I'm finally talking about Survivor New Zealand. But first, as any good PhD student must, we'll do some background reading. Let's get into it. It may go without saying, but let's quickly gloss over why you absolutely do not want this to happen. On Survivor, you're meant to forge brand new connections with random strangers. A key aspect of this is not knowing who you can trust. You never know if someone is lying to you, and you always know they never really have your best interest at heart. It eats away at you day in, day out, for weeks on end. You're always in game mode, and you can't turn it off, because the very second you let your guard down...
Gabby, tribe has spoken.
It's why the family visit is such a big deal. For the first time in who knows how long, you're finally safe. You're finally with someone who you know loves you, someone who you know cares about you, someone who you know isn't lying to you. For just a second, you can turn the game off and feel security with someone you know won't stab you in the back. Now imagine instead of that gut-wrenching Eldritch horror, you just see your mate out there, someone who you're pretty civil with. You're not besties or anything, but you're cordial. Suddenly you've got a connection, someone to gravitate towards. Someone who's still probably going to stab you in the back at some point. When you've got to choose who to trust, it makes the choice a hell of a lot easier. Of course, not all of these pan out. Crystal was the cousin of Marcus's best friend. It's a pretty tenuous connection and clearly didn't make that much of a difference in the long run considering, you know.
Marcus, tribe has spoken.
Laura and Brett from Survivor Samoa went to the same church. This likely impacted them choosing to work together, but it did nothing to stop Foa from steamrolling them. Ali and Patrick were friends in college before Heroes vs Healers vs Hustlers. It's debatable how close of friends they were. Ali mainly refers to them being in the same friend group, but once again, it clearly didn't make a difference.
Patrick, tribe has spoken.
Parvati and Nate from Cook Islands, yeah I know, what a weird duo, apparently met during the casting call and may have even gone on a date or two before the season started filming. Kelly went to business school with Dean's girlfriend, which in turn likely influenced her decision to give him her idol at the final 14. At the very least, it can't have hurt. Andrea and Zeke had played together in some online reality games, also known as orgs, before playing Game Changers.
Terrible game move, you suck at this game. I hope I see you never.
Although All-Star seasons in of themselves are a bit of a different beast, everyone really knows everyone to a certain extent, so it's not really worth mentioning too much here. I'm pretty sure some of the Blood vs. Water cast and the San Juan del Sur cast knew each other before the show. Didn't help Laura though, Sierra still voted her out. And I think Rob and Amber had some kind of connection before Winners at War. I'll do some more research and get back to you on that one in a future video. But there's one season where this had an immeasurable impact. One season that revolved entirely around a relationship we did not get to see be formed. A relationship that changed the entire season and really put an asterisk next to it. This relationship caused so many ripples in the ponds of time that without it I may very well be a former Survivor contestant. I am of course talking about Matt and Dave from Survivor New Zealand, Thailand. Matt and Dave knew each other pretty well outside the game. I'm not talking like Ali and Patrick who sort of circulated in the same friend group, but you could reasonably argue weren't very close. I'm talking like literal high school best friends. Dave and Matt even say so themselves.
Yeah, me and Dave were really good friends at high school. We played rugby together. I used to, stay at his house. I knew his parents quite well. Yeah, to see his face on the boat on Survivor was, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how that happened either. Actually, I do know how it happened. You see, New Zealand is quite small. 5 million people compared to the 26 million people in Australia, the 60 million people in South Africa, the 380 million people when you combine the US and Canada. As soon as you cast 2 people from the same city, there is a pretty high chance they will know each other somehow. 2 guys of the same age who went to the same high school, they'll definitely know each other. Bring in the fact that Survivor New Zealand was amazingly low budget, they almost definitely skipped so many background checks. This was an inevitability. But did it really impact the season? The short answer is yes. The long answer, the rest of the video. You could argue that for the first 4 episodes of the season, this didn't really have an impact. You could argue that, if you're a fool. In episode 1, Yos and Matt got to choose their tribes, and Matt has the opportunity to pick his best friend, but opts not to for strategic purposes. Right out the gate, the start information of the entire season is influenced by the fact that production decided to not do a bit of a background check on people. We then go through 4 pretty solid episodes before coming across the tribe swap. The tribe swap that puts Matt and Dave on the same tribe, and immediately information starts flowing between them. Information that would not be flowing if they didn't know each other. Then in episode 6, Chani throws a challenge to get rid of Matt, and who's going to bat for him repeatedly? Who's trying to convince everyone to vote out Josh instead? And who eventually succeeds? It's his old high school buddy Dave. But man, now Matt's on the outs, right? His number 1 ally has been voted off. Oh wait, never mind, there's no reason for him to scramble. He has Dave there to bring him back in and have his back again. And what happens at the next tribal council when Matt is threatened again? In a vote that should have been really straightforward? Obviously vote Matt out over desperate Dylan? That's right, Dave continues to save his best friend. But hey, now we're merged. Surely 2 people can't influence the entire rest of the season, right? I mean, at merge they don't even vote together. Matt goes behind Dave's back to vote off Aaron, and now the majority want to vote off Dave. It seems like it's time for the brothership to sail its last voyage. Oh no, wait, never mind. Now it's time for Matt to defend Dave, and everything in his power to prevent the majority from voting him out, even helping Dave save his idol for a future round. And from here on, the 2 feel as if the score is even. Dave got 1 on Matt, Matt got 1 on Dave, and for the next 3 tribals they're always voting together, thick as thieves. Matt even finds an idol to compliment his buddies. Isn't that just magical? Although he doesn't tell Dave about it. That's not very friendship of you now, is it, Matt? And this does eventually prove to be his downfall, as in episode 12 it's between Matt and Tess as to who goes home, with Dave casting his vote for Matt in a beautiful 3-2-1 vote that honestly rivals a lot of votes in US Survivor. A vote that was clearly very emotional for Dave, but in a normal season, a vote he shouldn't have had to think twice about. But at least it's finally over. At least the relationship can stop casting such a long shadow over the season, right? Wrong. Because now, Matt is on the jury, and he doesn't feel great. He feels like something isn't fair. It's almost as if his conscience is finally telling him, hey man, you know you and Dave had a massive unfair advantage over everyone else, and basically ruined everyone else's game because of it, right? Day in, day out, it eats him alive. And so, in what looks to be one of the most mid-ponderosas of all time, Matt tells the jury that he and Dave were best friends in high school, right before final tribal council.
You were always going to save Dave.
That was a bombshell, Matt.
We were never going to vote for him.
Now it's all coming clear.
Dave's going to get the shock of his life. Dave's going to be put on fire for it, no matter what.
Was Matt a sore loser here? Did he really think he was doing the right thing? Who knows? But now, going into final tribal council, Dave thinks he has a big bombshell to drop. Why Dave thought revealing he and Matt were friends would be a good thing for the jury, I have no idea. But he's caught out on it, he's on the back foot, and he's beaten down by the jury repeatedly. His holding of an idol for so long? That's no longer impressive. That's a byproduct of unfair casting. All his strategic moves? Well, he couldn't have done it without Matt, and the jury felt as if that was unfair. Honestly, what's in it made me sad. It's not Dave's fault. He played the cards he was dealt. It just so happened he was playing with a deck that was initially stacked in his favor, before turning out look, I don't know, poker. The cards, he should have fought, he really had to go fish at the end, you know what I'm saying? And that's how Survivor production almost ruined a season before it even began. Now don't get me wrong, Survivor New Zealand Thailand is a phenomenal season and should be on everyone's watch list. I hope you watched it before watching this video. But to me, it'll always be a season of what ifs. Maybe in this alternate timeline, Survivor NZ Thailand is more well received and we get a long running series and I get to apply like I intended to for season 3 because I wasn't old enough beforehand. And then I come like 13th, go on to actually hate Survivor for the rest of my life. Alas, that's not the timeline we live in. We simply live in the timeline of what if. But what do you think? Did this relationship ruin the season for you? Did it enhance it? Should it never have happened? Let me know. Until next time, I've been Henry Hickman Survivor, and I'll see you at the weirdly lit Thailand cave that they had tribal council in.